Well, the South Sudanese government has resumed what it is terming as strategic bombing on different areas in the country. Just a few days, I was giving you an encounter of what happened in Old Fangak when the Doctors Without Borders facility was bombed through an aerial strike from the South Sudanese Defense Forces. Well, they didn't come out to accept nor deny that particular activity, and yet here I am again giving you an account of what happened just hours ago in Mayom state, a state that was recently classified as friendly by the government of the day, has been bombed by the South Sudanese People Defense Forces. Well, that is the story that I'm going to tell you in this video. What exactly happened and how is that intertwined with cattle raiding that has been happening in the area? Well, this is Bonafide. If you haven't subscribed, kindly subscribe and hit that notification button so that when I release something new on the South Sudanese crisis, you get notified as soon as possible. Well, just days after that attack that happened at the Doctors Without Borders facility in Fangak, the South Sudanese Defense Forces have yet again led an airstrike against yet another county, this time a county that they termed as friendly because they classified different counties and states in South Sudan of being friendly or either hostile to the government. But this county, Mayom County, was classified as a friendly state, and yet the South Sudanese Defense Forces have commanded an airstrike against that particular county. Remember, the South Sudanese Defense Forces right now is also being assisted by the Uganda's People Defense Forces in the military activities that are happening mostly in the northeastern part of the country in what they are terming as the fight against the White Army, the Nuer ethnic White Army that is in the country that they say is against the government of the day. In this recent attack, the South Sudanese Defense Forces conducted air raids that targeted Gore village in Laraboma of Ruad Nyibol and occurred at around 5:19 p.m. and 5:30 p.m. on Wednesday local time, according to a resident that happened to be in that particular place. And remember, this happened, as I started by saying, in Mayom County of the country's unity state that led to the loss of lives of at least 3 civilians and injuring several others in that particular airstrike. Detailed accounts of what exactly happened in Mayom state notify us that that plane came from the direction of Warab state and attacked Gore village twice. 3 people, a man, a woman, and a girl in her early teens, lost their lives. Several others were wounded, and the death toll from that particular attack is expected to rise as many others are still seriously injured from that airstrike. Well, the South Sudanese Defense Forces as an organization was asked why these continuous air bombardments are happening in the country, because this is just a single country. You're talking about South Sudan, and these planes are South Sudanese of the South Sudanese Defense Forces that they pay taxes to fuel these airplanes that are turning their guns against them. Because as much as we are saying there are people who are against the government, there are civilians that are losing their lives because of these airstrikes, these air bombardments that are happening in hospital facilities and residential areas that are not supposed to happen in one's own country. When the South Sudanese Defense Forces as an organization was asked, why is this happening? The spokesperson of the SSPDF, Lul Ruai Kwang, said that this brief statement serves to inform all media agencies that as of now, SSPDF command has no comments to make on reported strategic bombing raids in Fangak and Mayom counties of Jonglei and Unity states respectively. That has been the response of the South Sudanese Defense Forces from the spokesperson himself, saying that these strategic bombings are happening, that they are aware that these strategic bombings, what he's calling as strategic bombings, are happening, but they do not have an explanation, they do not have a comment over what exactly is happening. And of course, it is touching on their own organization that is conducting these aerial bombings. And to get even more context of what happened in Mayom County, it is important to note that these airstrikes targeted an area where armed youth had gathered after a cattle raid in neighboring Warab state a day earlier. Therefore, this can be linked to the cattle raid that happened between the Nuer youth and the Dinka youth that occasionally happens in these areas. And that particular airstrike targeted that particular occasion where the armed youth had gathered after that cattle raid in neighboring Warab State a day earlier. This strike that happened in Mayom County comes just a day after a similar aerial bombardment in Kweriek Payam, where 6 people lost their lives. This has become some sort of way that the South Sudanese Defense Forces is now using against any insurgency in the country, be it big or small, because what we are witnessing right now in South Sudan is many people, many innocent people are losing their lives. Of course, if you're talking about aerial bombardment, it means that the precision of these guns, the precision of the lethal weapons that they are using is a bit low. That means that there is likelihood of many people who are not involved, actively involved in this conflict, to lose their life. For example, a teenage girl lost her life in this particular attack that happened in Mayom County. Many people have also lost their lives. We're talking about Old Fangak, what happened in the Doctors Without Borders facility. Many civilians lost their lives. We're talking about now what happened in Kweriek. About 6 people, innocent people, lost their lives. Many innocents are losing their lives because of the method that is being used by the state now to quell the insurgencies in the country. That is the use of very lethal weapons against your own citizens to quell the insurgencies that is happening in the country. While we cannot justify what the White Army or SPLA-IO are doing also in the country, because downing of a UN helicopter was not the right way to solve anything. Of course, using guns to fight and to voice your message is not the right way. But we cannot also condone the use of airplanes and bombardment against your own citizens in a manner of retaliation against what is happening in the country. The only way out of the crisis that South Sudan is facing right now is a total de-escalation of the crisis, and dialogue should be given a chance between the two sides that are fighting in the country. Well, I will keep you informed of the latest of what is happening in South Sudan. Keep it bona fide.